If all goes well, we should be in pretty good shape. I hope so. We've got our microphone on at 100% and the output in the mixer at 75, which is where we wanted it. Okay, we're now streaming to YouTube. So if you can hear and see and you're getting all this, do let us know and keep us informed of what's going on. I've got the live stream on now. Let me see here. So if you're watching and you'd like to comment, I'm going to open the comments for a few minutes and okay, we're now turn that part off. So if you can, I hope you can still hear me. Sal, if you're watching, go ahead and check in, but is sound and picture good? Sound and pic, okay. So do let us know. Yes, thanks, Sal. I hope you can hear me. I don't know how much delay there is, but we'll just have to play it by ear and see what happens. But thank you all so much for being here, and we really do appreciate it. While we're waiting, I think what I'll do is see if I can get a little music to play here, and maybe that might be something interesting to see if we can do. So while I'm looking for it, don't stop chatting and letting us know what's going on out there. So if you have the ability to let us hear from you, please do. Let me see if I can find our video. We have a video of the music that our group plays. It's just beautiful, and here it is. So let's see if you all can hear this through the microphone. I certainly hope you can. If you have the ability to let us hear from you, let me see if I can find our video. We have a video of the music that plays. It's just beautiful. And here it is. So let's see if you all can hear this through the microphone. And I certainly hope you can. If you have the ability to let us hear from you, let me see if I can find our video. The music that plays. It's just beautiful. And here it is. So let's see if you all can hear this through the microphone. I certainly hope you can. If you have the ability to let us hear from you, let me see if I can find our video. The music that plays. It's just beautiful. And here it is. So let's see if you all can hear this through the microphone. I certainly hope you can. Okay, I've turned the music off. I'm not sure how it's coming through, but so if my voice is back, I hope y'all will let me know. I'm going to get us out of this. I don't think I want to be looking at my YouTube feed that's delayed, which is a terrible thing to try to keep up with. Our Tenebrae will be starting in a few minutes, and thank you all for being here. About 3 or 4 more minutes, we'll kick off. So do let me know if everything can be heard, and I sure do appreciate it. So my voice is back. Thank you all, and I'll check back in with you in a few moments. If anything happens, you can, I don't know, send up smoke signals. They're more reliable than this tech is. But okay, so let me get rid of this and get the notes up. And thanks for your patience, folks. This is a terrible way to start our Tenebrae service. Take a few minutes, and I'll be back with you in a sec. Thanks. Well, good evening, folks. So we're back, and it's almost 7 o'clock, so I'm going to get started. Thanks very much for giving up this time on Friday night to be with us. It's strange here in the sanctuary. It's completely dark. We have a light here on the stage, but everything else is darkened, and so maybe you can't really tell. It's extraordinarily sad to be here alone on Good Friday, and I do hope that you're with family and friends. If you are alone, remember the Lord is with us, and for that we are eternally grateful. What we're going to do tonight is our regular Good Friday Tenebrae service, but without music. We didn't feel right about asking the musicians, although heroically they all offered to come in and play. But with the regulations of social distancing, we felt it was more prudent to just do this for tonight, and hopefully in a few weeks we'll be able to start resuming some sort of regular worship here at church. In the meantime, we'll do the best we can. We've got a beautiful camera here that's picking this up, and when we do come back from this current crisis, we should be able to stream the services really nicely for people who can't make it to church on Sunday mornings. So we do thank you for helping us and for being here with us tonight. A word about Tenebrae. Tenebrae means darkness, and the Holy Week is split up with services almost every night. But at Christ the King, we're a small church, and so we've chosen just to combine what is typically a Maundy Thursday, which was last night, with the Good Friday, and have one service. And over the years, that has served us very well, and we've worked hard to create a liturgy that's very beautiful. What will happen tonight, differently than our normal service, we won't be having Holy Communion. We usually start off with the Lord's table on our Tenebrae evening together. Not going to do that this year, but we will go through the Tenebrae readings, and there are 7 particular readings that and these vary depending on what church you go to, but in our church here at Christ the King, I have put together a narrative that seemed right for me and for us to do together, which takes us through the closing darkness that our Lord experienced the night before his crucifixion on Good Friday, and culminating to the crucifixion itself. So as I do after each reading, I will extinguish one candle until all 7 candles are completely out. The sanctuary will become dark. We'll also cut off these back lights here as well. And the final act of our service will be the lighting of the resurrection candle. And then I'll read just a short, some lyrics from one of the songs that we always sing on Good Friday. So at that time, once the candle is lit and we finish the service, we just ask that you would remain in a worshipful attitude throughout the evening if you can. Doesn't mean you can't talk to anyone. Normally we would leave the sanctuary in silence, but since you're at home or maybe with friends, you don't necessarily need to be complete silence. But I would encourage you to keep an attitude of prayer and worship throughout the night and evening and even into tomorrow, awaiting Sunday morning. We will have a service on Sunday morning, not here, probably from my house. I'm trying to respect the regulations of our city, which I believe are helping. And so I'll probably be at home and just do a similar service to what we've done these past few weeks. Do subscribe if you can. There's a notification. I'm not sure how YouTube works, still trying to learn. But there's a way for it to tell you that we're going to be on live. You can also go to the website, ctkpca.com, and you can sign up for our e-newsletter where we're sending all the information out with that. And I hope that you will avail yourself of that. There's lots of people that just do not fill out the form, and maybe there's a good reason for that. I don't know. But if you're not being contacted, that's why. So please help us with that. Fill out the form on the website. Subscribe and like this channel. If you like it, it does some magic with YouTube and makes it more popular. So that'd be nice if more people watch. Anyway, text your friends, family, anyone that you know, and we'll start in just a moment. I'll ask you to take some time now in your family, gather the kids, everybody get quiet and relaxed, and then I'll read a little something to you. Then you'll hear the call to worship from our God as he asks and invites us into his presence. Beautiful. Thank you. But now hear, O Jacob, my servant, Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says the Lord, who made you, who formed you from the womb and will help you. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon your offspring and my blessings on your descendants. They shall spring up among the grass like willows by flowing streams. This one will say, I am the Lord's. Another will call on the name of Jacob, and another will write on his hand, the Lord's, and name himself by the name of Israel. Remember these things, O Jacob and Israel, for you are my servant. I formed you. You are my servant, O Israel. You will not be forgotten by me. I have blotted out your transgressions like a cloud and your sins like a mist. Return to me, for I have redeemed you. When it was evening, Jesus reclined at the table with his 12 disciples, and as they were eating, he said to them, "Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me." And they were very sorrowful and began to say to him, one after another, "Is it I, Lord?" He answered, "He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born." Judas, who would betray him, answered, "Is it I, Rabbi?" Jesus said to him, "You have said so." And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them, "You will all fall away because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter answered him, "Though they all fall away because of you, I will never fall away." And Jesus said to him, "Truly I tell you, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." Peter said to him, "Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you." And all the disciples said the same. And he came and went, and as was his custom, to the Mount of Olives, and the disciples followed him. When he came to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you may not enter into temptation." And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw and knelt down and prayed, saying, "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done." And there appeared to him an angel from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose from prayer, he came to the disciples and found them sleeping for sorrow. And he said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Rise and pray that you may not enter into temptation." While he was still speaking, Judas came with a great crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Seize him." And he came up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus said, "Friend, do what you came to do." Then they seized Jesus, and behold, one of those with him drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. But Jesus said, "Put away your sword, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot ask my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then should the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so?" Then all the disciples left him and fled. Those who had seized Jesus led him to Caiaphas the high priest. where the scribes and the elders had gathered. Peter also followed at a distance as far as the courtyard of the high priest, where he sat with the guards to see the end. The chief priests and high council were seeking false testimony against Jesus so they might put him to death, but they found none. Finally, two came forward and said, "This man said, 'I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days.'" The high priest stood up and said, "Have you no answer to make? What is it that these men testify against you?" But Jesus remained silent. And the high priest said to him, "I command you, by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God." And Jesus said to him, "I am. You have said it. But I tell you, from now on you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his robes and said, "He has uttered blasphemy. What further witnesses do we need? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your judgment?" They answered, "He deserves death." Then they spit in his face, and they struck him, saying, "Prophesy to us, you Christ. Who is it that struck you?" In the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders, scribes, and the entire council. They bound Jesus and delivered him to Pilate. Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the King of the Jews?" And Jesus answered, "I am. You have said it." The chief priests accused him of many things. So Pilate asked again, "Have you no answer to make? Look, how many charges they bring against you." But Jesus made no further answer, so that Pilate was amazed. Now at the feast, he would release one prisoner, and among the rebels was a murderer called Barabbas. The crowd asked Pilate to do as he usually did, and he said, "Do you want me to release to you the King of the Jews?" But the chief priests had stirred up the crowd to release Barabbas instead. And Pilate said, "Then what shall I do with the man you call King of the Jews?" And they shouted, "Crucify him." Pilate said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him." So Pilate gave in. He released Barabbas, and after having Jesus violently whipped, he delivered him to be crucified. The soldiers called together the whole battalion, and they clothed Jesus in a purple robe, twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and began to salute and mock him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews." And they were striking his head with a reed and spitting on him and kneeling down in homage. And when they had finished mocking, they stripped off the purple cloak and put his own clothes on him and led him out to crucify him. And they brought him to the place called Golgotha, which means place of a skull. And there they crucified him and divided his garments among them, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was the 3rd hour when they crucified him, and the inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." With him they crucified two robbers, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by mocked him, shaking their heads and saying, Aha! You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. Come down from the cross. So also the chief priests with the scribes mocked him to one another, saying, He saved others, he cannot save himself. Let the Christ, the King of Israel, come down from that cross that we may see and believe. And when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, Behold, he is calling for Elijah. And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink, saying, Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down. And Jesus uttered a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he had breathed his last, he said, Truly, this man was the Son of God. After these things, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, asked Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus. And Pilate gave him permission. So he came and took away the body. Nicodemus also, who earlier had come to Jesus by night, came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds in weight. So they took the body of Jesus and bound it in linen cloths with the spices, as is the burial custom of the Jews. Now in the place where he was crucified there was a garden, and in the garden a new tomb, in which no one had yet been laid. So because of the Jewish day of preparation, since the tomb was close at hand, they laid him there. His be the victor's name who fought the fight alone. Triumphant saints no honor claim. Their conquest was his own. By weakness and defeat he won the glorious crown, trod all his foes beneath his feet by being trodden down. What though the vile accuser roar of sins that I have done? I know them well, and thousands more. My God, he knoweth none. He hell in hell laid low, made sin, he sin o'erthrew, bowed to the grave, destroyed it so, and death by dying slew. Bless the conqueror slain, slain by divine decree, who lived, who died, who lives again, for thee, my soul, for thee. What though the vile accuser roar of sins that I have done? I know them well, and thousands more. My God, he knoweth none. My sin is cast into the sea of God's forgotten memory, no more to haunt accusingly, for Christ has lived and died for me. What though the vile accuser roar of sins that I have done? I know them well, and thousands more. My God, he knoweth none.